Hey, how you doing? I have tried to record this. I really struggle to have a space that's quiet to record, and it's not gonna be quiet now, but I'm just gonna record anyway because I just want to share about books. Okay, so I have a goal. We are in the middle of October. Today's October the 16th, and I am starting this to work through the end of the year. My goal is to complete a chunk of books by the end of the year. That's my goal. I have books that I've already started, books that I've said I want to finish, books that I've said I want to read. I have books that just interest me. I have books that I need to decide if they're staying on my shelves. And so, yeah, I have books. So, first I will say that for those who participated with us during Air of September, thank you. That was really a lot of fun. And if you would like to participate with other things that we do, reach out. We can do that. Okay. For now, I'm going to go through this bag of books. It's a bop. We're going to do a bop, a bag of possibilities. However, the goal is really to complete these. Okay, the first, and let me just say, I have been reading a lot of Christmas books all year long, and so that's just going to continue. So interspersed with this are Christmas books, and that's because I have literally read Christmas books all year. I will continue to read Christmas books through the end of this year, and I don't know what part that they're going to play in 2026, because I haven't planned 2026 yet. Right now, I'm just trying to get through these books. Don't eat my book, baby. I'm just trying to get through these books, and I have a real strong goal of figuring. Hey, can I have my sticky? She ate my sticky note. Oh, darling, don't do that to me. No more eating my sticky notes, okay? I so hope that wasn't important. No. Okay, you're not. I'm not gonna let you play with my toys anymore. Go on now. Go, because really, no. She ate my sticky note. Okay. I don't know. My goal is to clean out my library. Okay, to clean it out, to figure out what stays, what goes, and I really want to get a chunk of that done before the end of the year. So this bag of books is a bag of books that, look, if I cannot seem to get these books into, like, if I can't read them and decide they stay in my library, or read them and decide they're gone, if I keep twirling them around and nothing comes of it, I have to ask myself, why are they still on my shelf? And then I have to make a decision. So we really got to get that done. Okay, we're doing a bop. So the first one I want to share is Clementine for Christmas. No, you can't eat anything out of the book. No, out of the bag. No. Clementine for Christmas. This is a tween book. There are characters in it. No, ma'am. There is a... I'm not kidding. Go. No, Anna, no. There are some kids in this story who have their own problems, their own sets of challenges. I'm going to move this. Their own sets of challenges. I'm holding this. Yes, I am. I'm holding the camera. That's true. I am. And with their own sets of challenges, they all of it comes to a head, and they have to work it out. And it's all centered in around the Christmas season. It's a fun story. It's a great way to introduce your tweens to Christmas stories and to have youth that maybe they would relate to. And it's also fun for grown-ups to read these stories because they're clean reads. And this one's been a clean read. It's been enjoyable. Okay. Another one is one that I was gifted. It's Love Through the Seasons by Tracy Peterson. It's 4 stories in here that are literally, each one is titled with one of the seasons. And it's obviously she's a Christian author. I'm going through these. This will stay on my shelf. Part of the reason, please do not eat my stuff. Part of the reason is because I like Tracy, and part of the reason is because have younger female family members, and it would be nice if I had things on my shelf that they could come and peruse through them and find things of value. And I think that Tracy writes value. Plus Christian, clean, all that good stuff. Okay. I'm hopeful that she'll leave these alone. Okay. Andrew Roberts wrote Napoleon the Great. If you know me personally, you know that I've been reading a lot of Russian lit. I've been digging into books that are classics that are focused in around the Napoleonic War, and I want to understand that time period more. Because if you understand the history, when you're reading the classics or you're reading historical fiction that's centered around that, it just helps. It helps you understand the stories and the characters, and it just makes it a more rich experience. And so this is one of the ways that I'm working on that. Okay, this one is by Melody Carlson, Another Christmas, All I Have to Give. I haven't read this one yet. Seriously, every time I look at it, I just want to cry. Anna wants this to be, it's what would you do to make Christmas special? Anna wants this to be the best Christmas ever, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish that. But what happens when everything and everyone around her seems to be falling apart? Is this destined to be the worst Christmas ever? Fortunately for her, as often happens at this time of year, there are miracles in store. Just when Anna's happy holidays looks hopeless, the magic of Christmas works its way into her life, and what she unwraps for Christmas will surprise everyone. So I have a feeling I'm going to cry, but it's on my list this year. That's where we're at. Okay. In January, All Creatures Great and Small puts out their new season. I have watched the first 5 seasons over and over and over and over and over. And season 6 is coming in January. I've started, okay, so if you know classics, if you're familiar with classic writing, you are familiar with an author by the name of James Herriot. He wrote about his experiences as a country vet. And his books are the base for the series All Creatures Great and Small, and one of his books is entitled that. So the book that, and I've started reading because I want to read through, all the material that he wrote. So I started with If Only They Could Talk, which from what I can gather, this is a part of the first book that he wrote, and just figuring that out. So if you have I think the 4 there's 4 or 5 base books, and it's all based in a scripture too. He was a Christian. The titles are all based in a scripture. Anyway, but this is I don't know why they decided to redo it in some fashion, but this is If Only They Could Talk, and it's the beginning. It's when he first, and this is also starts with the beginning of the series, season 1. He starts out as a vet, and he goes to where he works as a vet, and his experiences. The show is delightful. Obviously, if you're a reader, you think books are always the best. I'm excited about the book. So I want to read the material that I've got and really prepare myself for when the show starts up again. Okay. Dani Petrie. I've not read her stuff. I'm reading my very first Dani Petrie. It's called Submerged. Some people love it, some people don't. I don't care. It's a suspense. Sorry, that was rude. A sabotaged plane, 2 dead deep water divers, 1 single clue. Bailey Craig vowed never to set foot in Yancey, Alaska again. She has a past and a reputation, and Yancey's a town that doesn't forget. She's returned only to bury a loved one in the plane. She's returned only to bury a loved one killed in the plane crash. But then dark evidence emerges, and Bailey's expertise becomes invaluable for the case. Cole McKenna can face dangerous rescue divers. He can face the fear a murderer may be threatening his town, but facing the reality of Bailey's reappearance is a tougher challenge. She broke his heart, but doesn't seem to be the same girl who left Yancey 10 years ago. And he's not the same guy she left behind. Racing against the clock and a rising body count, Bailey and Cole must move beyond the hurts of their past to work together until the truth of what is hidden in the depths finally surfaces. And it starts out really grabbing your attention. It starts out with the plane crash, and you know that there's some sinister guy behind the plane crash, and then they do a diving, a rescue where they do I guess it's a deep dive is what you would call it, but they have to dive to rescue these people, and it starts out good. So far it is book 1 in the Alaskan Courage series, and I'm enjoying it so far, but I do want to get that one finished. Okay. I listened to this book over the summer. I want to read it now and annotate it. So here we are. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Everybody knows Pride and Prejudice, but if you don't, since its immediate success in 1813, Pride and Prejudice, 1813. So it's like a couple hundred years old. It's more than, I don't know how old that would make it. I have to do some math. I'm not going to do that right now. Pride and Prejudice has remained one of the most popular novels in the English language. Jane Austen called this brilliant work her own darling child, and its vivacious heroine, Elizabeth Bennet, as delightful a creature as ever appeared in print. The romantic clash between the opinionated Elizabeth and her proud beau, Mr. Darcy, is a splendid performance of civilized sparring, and Jane Austen's radiant wit sparkles as her characters dance a delicate quadrille, how do you say that word? Of flirtation and intrigue, making this book the most superb comedy of manners of Regency England. Okay. So I did listen to this and was quite intrigued, enjoyed it. The last time I had tried to get into the book, the timing was not good, I don't think, because I didn't enjoy it the first time I listened through it. This summer I listened through it, and I really became intrigued and enjoyed it. So now, and I will listen to it again, because I think it's obviously Pride and Prejudice is one that you just go back to again and again, but I want to read through it. And I'm enjoying my read through so far. I was supposed to participate in Chantel's L.M. Montgomery year. I failed to do that, but that doesn't stop me in October from picking up Anne of Avonlea by L.M. Montgomery, because last October I read Anne of Green Gables. It was the first time I'd ever read. I had watched, back in the 80s, I watched the miniseries, the original miniseries that was put out, and that was so good. I tried to find it because I wanted to purchase it, but I can't seem to find it. So if you know how to find it, let me know. But Anne of Avonlea is book 2, and even though I didn't manage to participate the way I wanted to this year, I thought, it's October, Antober, which Shatona does, but she didn't set up this year, but she did do it for 2 years in a row, and hopefully she'll come back next October with it. Shatona, how about it? And either way, I said, I can read Anne of Avonlea, so that's what I'm going to do. At 16, Anne is grown up, almost. Her gray eyes shine like evening stars, but her red hair is still as peppery as her temper. In the years since she arrived at Green Gables as a freckle-faced orphan, she's earned the love of the people of Avonlea and a reputation for getting into scrapes. But when Anne begins her job as the new school teacher, the real test of her character begins. Along with teaching the 3 R's, she's learning how complicated life can be when she meddles in someone else's romance, finds 2 new orphans at Green Gables, and wonders about the strange behavior of the very handsome Gilbert Blythe. As Anne enters womanhood, her adventures touch the heart and the funny bone. So it's just really going to be an enjoyable and fun read. Okay, an author that I read one of her books. The only book of hers that I've read, the author's name is Janine Cummins, and the only book of hers that I have read is American Dirt, and I absolutely loved the book. it got a lot of controversy when it was published, and I went and watched all of that and really felt that people were unfair to her about the book. I really did. But when there's controversy and it's along those type topics, I think people are always unfair. She wrote this book, and it's called Speak to Me of Home. And first of all, is this not a beautiful cover? This is a beautiful cover. Speak to Me of Home. And I love the way that Janine speaks. She's very thoughtful in how she speaks, and that's also how she writes. And for that reason, that was the reason I enjoyed her book, American Dirt. It also educated me in ways that I hadn't been educated before, and so that was very good for me. In Speak to Me of Home, first of all, can we just enjoy the maps that she put in? She put it in both ends. Both ends have these San Juan, Puerto Rico maps, so you can kind of look at all that and understand where some of the things maybe are in the story. What does it mean to call a place home? On her wedding day in San Juan, Puerto Rico in 1968, Rafaela Acuna y Gabon has mild misgivings, but she marries Peter Brennan Jr. anyway, in a blaze of romantic optimism. She's no way of knowing how dramatically her life will change when she uproots her young family to start over in the American Midwest, unleashing a fleet of disappointments. In the 1980s, against the backdrop of her mother's isolation in St. Louis, Missouri, Rafaela's daughter Ruth wants only to belong. Eager to fit in, Ruth lets go of her language, habits, and childhood memories of Puerto Rico. It's not until decades later, when Ruth's own daughter Daisy returns to San Juan, that her mother and grandmother begin to truly reflect on the choices that have come to define their lives. Whoops, bookmark. When a hurricane ravages the island in 2023, leaving Daisy critically injured, Rafaela and Ruth return to the city where their story began. As they gather at Daisy's bedside, we follow them back into the moments. Oh, no, you don't. We follow them back into the moments that brought them to this point. We watch as they come of age, fall in love, take risks, and contend with all the heartbreaks, triumphs, and reversals of fortune, both good and bad, that make up a meaningful life. As old memories come to light, so do buried secrets, leaving everyone in the family wondering exactly where it is that they belong. A striking, resonant examination of marriage, family, and identity, Speak to Me of Home is ultimately a story of mothers and daughters that asks, how can three women who share geography and genetics have such wildly different ideas of where they come from? And more important, can they discover a common language to find their way back home? So this is just a second book from an author. I enjoyed the one that I read, and I'm giving a second book a try to see what I think. We'll see. All right, a book that is really super beat up, and I really feel like I have a less falling apart copy, and I'm going to look and see, but I feel like I do, but this is the only one I can find, so this is the one I grabbed to read from. Sorry, I'm moving my camera. This is the one that I grabbed to read from, but I'm going to look and see if I can find a better copy, because this one's literally falling apart. Is Jeannie Dupuy. I don't really know how to say her name, but she wrote a book called The City of Ember, and this is a, I would say, middle grade tween, probably, I don't know, it's really on the border, middle grade tween, it's really on the border. Citizens of Ember shall be assigned work at 12 years of age. Lena Mayfleet desperately wants to be a messenger. Instead, she drew the dreaded job of pipeworks laborer, which means she'll be working in damp tunnels near deep underground. Dune Harrow draws messenger and asks Lena to trade. Dune wants to be underground. That's where the back is scratched. I think that's where the generator is, and Dune has ideas about how to fix it. For as long as anyone can remember, the great lights of Ember have kept the endless darkness. It's all scratched up. I guess that they're beginning, the generator, the lights are beginning to end. Okay, so hopefully I will find my other copy. I feel like I have another copy of this book, but if not, I'll read it in this one. But this is one I've seen the movie a few times, and I want to read the book. Books are always better, and I want to read the book. Okay. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH by Robert C. O'Brien. This one won an award. This is a classic. I wish I could see what award that is. I think it's the Newbery Award. But I really feel like they should write these things someplace else. Okay, yes, on the back. Winner of the Newbery Medal, winner of the Lewis Carroll Shelf Award, and a la notable book. Miss Frisby, a widowed mouse with 4 small children, is faced with a terrible problem. She must move her family to their summer quarters immediately, or face almost certain death. But her youngest son, Timothy, lies ill with pneumonia and must not be moved. Fortunately, she encounters the Rats of NIMH, an extraordinary breed of highly intelligent creatures who come up with a brilliant solution to her dilemma, and Miss Frisby in turn renders them a great service. So this book comes highly recommended by so many people. I haven't read it. Everybody's read it, and I want to read it. I want to make sure that I've read literary pieces from all different age groups that have value, they enrich you, and sometimes culturally, they're pieces that you just feel like, should this have been read by a child? If it wasn't read by me, and it wasn't read by me, then it needs to be. And I was an avid reader as a child, and yet, what's the copyright on this book? Copyright, 1971. This is a book I should have come across, and I didn't. So, I am now. Okay. This is a book by an author named Fanny Burney. The book is entitled Evelina, and it is put out by Ginger Classics. This is said to be an author that Jane Austen really loved. This is an epistolary book. Evelina, or the History of a Young Lady's Entrance into the World, is an epistolary novel written by English author Fanny Burney and first published in 1778. I can tell you that the writing it's a little challenging to read, but challenge accepted. I would get this read. And I'm very interested in, reading an author that Jane Austen enjoyed. That just speaks to me, Okay. This is a book that was gifted to me, and it's one that I haven't read yet, but it was highly recommended to read. Code Name Edelweiss. This is by Stephanie Lansom. I've never read anything by Stephanie, so this will be my first time. It's in the summer of 1933. Hitler is the new powerful anti-Semitic chancellor of Germany, but in Los Angeles, no-nonsense secretary Liesl Weiss has concerns closer to home. The Great Depression is tightening its grip, and Liesl is the sole supporter of 2 children, an opinionated mother and a troubled brother. Jewish lawyer Leon Lewis has watched Hitler's rise to power and increasing anti-Semitism in America with growing alarm. He believes Nazi agents are working to seize control of Hollywood, the world's greatest propaganda machine. The trouble is, authorities scoff at his dire warnings. When Liesl loses her job at MGM, her only choice is to work with Leon Lewis and the mysterious Agent 13 to spy on her friends and neighbors in her German-American community. What Lewis and his spies find is more chilling and more dangerous than any of them suspected. Codename Edelweiss is based on a true story, unknown until recent years, how a lone Jewish lawyer and a handful of amateur spies discovered and foiled Adolf Hitler's plan to take over Hollywood. Pardon me, I had no idea that this truly happened. So this is a must read for me. And if you've read it, I'd love your thoughts on it, but it's a must read for me. Okay, on to a less serious topic. I'm a suspense lover, and Lisa Scottolini has written a lot of books that I've enjoyed, and one that I've got that I'm going to tackle that I want to say that I've read before, but I can't be sure, so I'm going to read now, is entitled Feared. And this is part of her, it doesn't say, but it's a part of a series that she wrote based in an attorney's office. When three men announced that they are suing the Rosado and D'Annunzio law firm for reverse sex discrimination, claiming that they were not hired because they were men, Mary D'Annunzio and Benny Rosado are outraged. To make matters worse, their one male employee, John Foxman, intends to resign, claiming that there is some truth to this case. No, I have not read this one. I thought I had. The plaintiff's lawyer is Nick Machiavelli, who has already lost to Mary once and is now back with a vengeance, determined to not only win but destroy the firm. It soon becomes clear that Machiavelli will do anything in his power to achieve his end, even after the case turns deadly. The stakes have never been higher for Mary and her associates as they try to keep Machiavelli at bay, solve a murder, and save the law firm they love, or they could lose everything they've worked for. Told with Scottolini's trademark, for twists, turns, heart, and humanity. This latest thriller asks the question, is it better to be loved or feared? Feared expertly explores what happens when we are tempted to give in to our own inner darkness. So it should be very interesting to read. This is a book that I found when I was thrifting. I'd never heard of it before. I'd never heard of the author before. And I don't know if this author has written any other books. And I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know. Okay. The author's name is Laura Avery. I know nothing about this book, okay? As far as I couldn't vouch for it. I'm just going to try it. I found it thrifting. I found it fascinating. I'm going to try it. It's called The Memory Book. Have you read it? So basically, this young woman, and I would probably do better to read the summary, but Sammy McCoy is a girl with a plan. Graduate at the top of her class and get out of her small town as soon as possible. Nothing will stand in her way, not even the rare genetic disorder the doctors say will slowly steal her memories and then her health. So the memory book is born, a journal written to Sammy's future self, so she can remember everything from where she stashed her study guides to just how great it feels to have a best friend again. It's where she'll record every perfect detail of her first date with longtime crush Stuart, a gifted young writer home for the summer, and where she'll admit how much she's missed her childhood friend Cooper and the ridiculous lengths he will go to make her laugh. The memory book will ensure Sammy never forgets the most important parts of her life, the people who have broken her heart, those who've mended it, and most of all, that if she's going to die, she's going to die living. This moving and remarkable novel introduces an inspiring character you're sure to remember long after the last page. I just thought it was a really interesting concept, so I'd never, ever heard of the book before, so I'm going to give it a try. Okay, a Victorian novel that I'm starting. I do not expect to finish it before the end of the year, is George MacDonald, The Curate of Glaston. I listened to this last year in the fall and felt that it really was needed to be read instead of listened to. There are 3 books in this: The Curate's Awakening, The Lady's Confession, The Baron's Apprenticeship. And this book, if you're not familiar with George MacDonald, he's one of the original and the most influential writers of Victorian Britain. He was a Scottish poet, preacher, novelist. He lived from 1824 to 1905. And C.S. Lewis regarded him as his own master. He said, I regarded him as my master. So he really appreciated him a great deal. This story is about the development of faith, the challenges about, tied to that, and all kinds of different characters that are related to that whole thing. It depicts the spiritual awakening of curate Thomas Wingfold in the lives of those he touches. A surgeon named Paul Faber believes in nothing but his own goodness until a beautiful patient reveals her secret past. Richard Tuke searches for the truth behind his mysterious heritage with the help of a thoughtful and independent woman. Filled with suspense and love, these novels reveal God's infinite and loving means of drawing hearts to himself. It comes highly recommended. And so with it being Victober, that's a Victorian novel. I will be starting that one, October. I'm going back to Jane Eyre. So if you didn't know about Heir of September, and so you didn't read Jane Eyre during Heir of September, you have an opportunity to read it with me. I am going to read it through and take notes, the notes I've been wanting to take for this book, because I didn't get to take my notes. But we can still do that. We can do it together. So if you're not familiar with Jane Eyre, because not everyone is familiar with Jane Eyre, Jane was a young girl who was orphaned. She ended up living with her aunt and her uncle. Her uncle died. Before her uncle died, he demanded a promise from her aunt that she would take care of Jane, that she would treat her as her own. Well, the aunt broke that promise, and it's kind of the direction this book takes on, the direction Jane's life took, in part because of a broken promise. But one of the things that I find, there are people who don't like Jane Eyre. They don't like this young girl. But let me just say, they find her whiny, and I don't. I don't find her whiny. I feel that Jane is extremely strong. I feel that she was very strong and very opinionated. Had she not been as strong as she was, and granted, that was challenging to deal with, but she really had a challenging experience starting out. But had she not had that strength, she never would have survived everything she went through. She also never would have found faith without everything that she went through. And so the woman she becomes, because of the hardship she endures, says a lot to us about how we should walk hardship. And I really think it's a powerful story. Okay. Because I would like to go back through Mitford, I'm pulling it back out at home in Midford. This series is one that's warm, cozy, inviting. Father Tim is just a delight. He's hilarious, and so are all the characters that are in the book. Jane Karen does a wonderful job, and the entire series is captivating. And one of the dearest people that I've ever known, who has since passed away this year. In the beginning of this year, she passed away. Margie. She was the first one to introduce me to Mitford, and I will forever think of this story as my story that I share with Margie. And it's just a delightful series. There are several books, and each one there's just no end to how, it just never grows old. It never grows old. It's just a really good story. So that one is with us. This is one I've not read. I've never read anything by this author, but it's one that I was interested in. I came across it and collected it, and I want to get it. I want to get it in the queue here. All right, so it's a novel by Donna Everhart. She is the author of The Education of Dixie Dupree, apparently, but I don't know that book. This is called The Saints of Swallow Hill. Have you read this book? It's a historical fiction novel. Set against the backdrop of the Great Depression, Donna Everhart's lyrical new novel is it's not new now, a powerful story of courage, survival, and friendship. In the dense pine forests of North Carolina, turpentiners labor, hacking into tree trunks to dry out the sticky sap that gives the Tar Heel State its nickname, and hauling the resin to stills to be refined. Among them is Raylyn Cobb and her husband Warren, who run a small turpentine farm together. So it's historical fiction. You really learn a lot, about some things maybe you don't know about. I didn't know about some of this. Though the work is hard and often dangerous, Raylyn, who spent her childhood in an orphanage, is thankful for it and for her kind, if careless, husband. When Warren falls victim to his own negligence, Raylyn undertakes a desperate act of mercy. To keep herself from jail, she disguises herself as a man and heads to the only place she can think of that might offer anonymity, a turpentine camp in Georgia named Swallow Hill. Swallow Hill is no easy haven. The camp is isolated and squalid, and commissary owner Otis Riddle takes out his frustrations on his browbeaten wife Cornelia. Although Raylyn works tirelessly, she becomes a target for Crow, the ever-watchful woods rider. Delwood Reese, who's come to Swallow Hill hoping for his own redemption, offers Ray a small measure of protection. As Raylyn forges a deeper friendship with both Del and Cornelia, she begins to envision a path out of the camp. But she will have to come to terms with her past, with all its pain and beauty, before she can open herself to a new life and seize the chance to begin again. And it just really sounds so good, right? So that's in the queue. I've spoken of this book before. It's one that I will not get rid of this book because I've never ever even heard of this book before. But I will begin to read it with the hope of completing it in 2026. That's the goal. It's a small book, but I don't intend to complete it before 2026. The book is entitled Roughing It, and it's by Mark Twain, and it's just stories about his life and his youth, and it just really intrigues me. Okay, moving along as quickly as I can. There's a book entitled The Exiles by Christina Baker Klein. She's the author of the #1 bestseller Orphan Train. These orphans are, I believe these are in Australia. Australia 1840. These are about the orphans of Australia 1840. Another historical fiction. A country into which England is rapidly pouring its prisoners, including an increasing number of women. With the indigenous population forcibly relocated, promised land of their own they will never receive, the growing population of former convicts is beginning to create a society in the land beyond the seas. Against this backdrop, master storyteller Christina Baker Klein brings us the intertwined stories of 3 unforgettable characters: a sheltered governess seduced by her employer's son, arrested on trumped-up charges and sentenced to 7 years transport, the canny young thief, midwife, and herbalist she befriends aboard the ship, and an orphaned indigenous girl taken from her people and brought to live with the family of the new governor of Van Diemen's Land. While life in Australia is punishing and often unfair, it is also for some an opportunity for redemption, for a new way of life, for unimagined freedom, told in exquisite detail and incisive prose. The Exiles is a story of grace born from hardship, the unbreakable bonds of female friendship, and the unfettering of legacy. Really, really sounds interesting, and I want to get through that one. One by Suzanne Woods Fisher called A Season on the Wind. This one, Ben Zook was as free as a bird until a chase for a rare white-winged tern takes him to the one place on earth he planned to never return, his Amish home in Stony Ridge. So I'm going to stop there. But she writes really good Amish stories that have depth, and they're very filled with faith. I'm still trying to get Macy Dobbs read. I don't know why, so I'm going to give it another try and see how that goes. She's a detective, and she runs a detective agency, and this is really where it all begins, so I'm really going to give that a try. One that I believe is going to become another favorite of mine that will most likely be another one I look to for devotional encouragement, the way that I do Prairie and Highlands, is Penelope's Pursuit by Shatona Havig. A lot of quotes from this one. She'll stop at nothing to find her sister. 10 years ago, Penelope's sister ran away as a mail-order bride, and it was the last her family ever heard from her. Now, with her parents dead and Penelope all alone, the young woman has one goal: find her sister. It took enough grit for Reuben to write to Miss Mildred Crenshaw about finding him a wife in the first place, but when the train arrives and no bride steps off, the whole thing feels like a confidence, a scheme. An investigation, however, sends chills down his spine as he realizes women are leaving the East for the West, but many never arrive at their destinations. Is it any wonder that Penelope is livid with the man who abducts her from the clutches of her new friends and rides off into the sunset with her? Is his explanation reasonable? Can she convince him to help her find her sister? Can she trust him? And is she about to fall in love with a homesteader and the untamed prairies of Kansas? So I feel like this is going to be I get chills just reading the summary. All right, Colleen Coble, The House at Saltwater Point. Another suspense that's just going to be really enjoyable. Ellie Blackmore's making a name for herself as a house flipper, but when her sister Mackenzie disappears, Ellie can't focus on anything but uncovering what happened. Her only clue is the blood stain on the deck of Mackenzie's boat. Ellie knows her sister isn't on the best of terms with her ex-husband Jason, but he wouldn't kill her, would he? Coast Guard intelligence officer Grayson Bradshaw believes Mackenzie faked her own death after stealing a seized cocaine shipment. The problem is convincing Ellie, who seems to view him as the true enemy. And there's some others in this series, Leaving Lavender Tides, which I've already read, but the others, The View from Rain Shadow Bay and Secrets of Cedar Cabin, and this one I have not read, so that should be fun. Okay. The Unwanteds. I don't think I have time to share about the Unwanteds. I want to share more. Somehow this got thrown in here. The Silmarillion, which is the book with all of the history before The Hobbit, Tolkien. This one is on my list to get done, but I will be listening to this one before the end of the year so that I can read The Hobbit, because I want to do that. This is a really deep book, though. Listening it is. 2 tickets to the Christmas ball. That is one. I've been reading a lot of Christmas. This is one. These people at this bookstore, they have a matchmaking scheme every year, and we're going to see how it goes this year. It's got all the warm cozies, all the warm feels. We're going to see. I'll be reporting on that one because it's one that I think I'm really going to enjoy a great deal. This is one that it's called The Tilted World by Tom Franklin and Beth Ann Fennelly, and it's set in Mississippi. Let me see if I can. The year is 1927. As rain swells the Mississippi, the mighty river threatens to burst its banks and engulf everything in its path, including federal revenue agent Ted Ingersoll and his partner Ham Johnson. Arriving in the tiny hamlet of Hobnob, Mississippi to investigate the disappearance of 2 fellow agents who've been on the trail of a local bootlegger, they are astonished to find a baby boy abandoned in the middle of a crime scene. Ingersoll, an orphan raised by nuns, is determined to find the infant a home, and his search leads him to Dixie Clay Holliver, a strong woman married too young to a philandering charmer. Dixie Clay has lost a child to illness. and is powerless to resist this second chance at motherhood. From the moment they meet, Ingersoll and Dixie Clay are drawn to each other. He has no idea that she's the best bootlegger in the county and may be connected to the agent's disappearance. And while he seems kind and gentle, Dixie Clay knows full well that he's an enemy who can never be trusted. When Ingersoll learns that a saboteur might be among them, planning a catastrophe along the river that would wreak havoc in Hobnob, he knows that he and Dixie Clay will face challenges and choices that they will be fortunate to survive. So I think it's going to be interesting. There are others that I would like to share, but I'll just have to do a part 2 because I'm running out of charge and I need to get this charged, and I need to get this one up, and then I will share some more. But this one's been long enough, I think. So these are books that I want to get, these and some others I really want to get through by the end of this year. Some of them, there were a couple I mentioned I want to get them read by 2026, but most of them by the end of this year. I'm really trying to clean out my shelves, and so we're going to see what this amounts to. Bye for now.